My guest today is an oil field welder out of West Texas. You guys will recognize him as the face and the passion behind America's fastest growing welding apparel companies, owner of Slickman Welding Apparel, Nate Montez. Nate, welcome to the show, man.
Man, thanks for having me, brother. I'm happy to be here.
Hey, look, man, I see your videos all over TikTok, all over social media. You're in a good group of people that are doing a lot of cross promotion. You
Mhm.
guys are just taking the welding industry by storm on social media. Man, tell me what that's been like here recently.
It's crazy, right? Like, we've all been used to the same brands for the past since we started, right? It was like, Profax,
Yeah.
Tillman, Stallion. We're talking about like industry standards for the past like 60 years. And it is so neat to see like I'm gonna call it like an awakening to where people are taking the capabilities into their own hands and creating and making these awesome products that just haven't been there. You know what I mean? And
Dude, I
the
really do.
community,
Yeah.
yeah, and the community coming together to like, hey, it's not me versus you. It's not my glove company versus another small glove company. No, it's us versus them. You know what I mean? It's up
Yeah.
versus down.
Yep.
It's been a ride for sure.
That's awesome. And the first time I met you was at FabTech, and you were set up with Chris from Well Bros. And that was the first time
Hmm.
I got a good look at, at that relationship. And, and then I saw your gloves in the Pearl Snap Pimp booth and was gifted a pair of those gloves with the skeleton fingers on it, which I absolutely love, by the way. And then that's when it really opened my eyes to the community you guys had built. That was my first time at FabTech. I'm new to social
Hmm.
media, relatively new to social media. I'm just a high school welding instructor, man, and I've gravitated into this role. And that was an eye-opening experience to really see the community you guys have built. And again, do you think the success behind this, Nate, in part is because of the fact that Tillman and the other name brands like that are getting so far removed from the welder themselves? And here you come with a fresh perspective as a welder.
I think so. I think that has been a big has been a big deal in our corner, me being able to relate. So the way I started Slickman was building a community of trust. Was before I had Slickman, I had an online profile on TikTok and on Instagram as Nasty Nate or Nate the Great, and I taught welding tips and tricks for 3 years. Like, I'm already out there welding, I'm doing something really freaking cool. Let me show you how I'm doing it. You know what I mean? My whole motto was,
Yep.
if I can show you how to do something in a 60-second video that took me 5 years to learn, then take it and run with it. And and that was the whole thing. And doing that, we were able to build a community of, it was like I'm gonna say constituents, followers. We built this thing up, and then Slickman was born because of that. Slickman was able to take off because of that, because I had trust in the people buying the gloves. Like the first set of gloves we ever ran, I was completely honest with everybody. I was like, "Hey guys, these gloves suck, and they're gonna suck for like 3 days." And
They're gonna suck for 3 days.
for 3 days, I made sure I got a few pairs. I ran through them. They were god awful, man. And but after 3 days, they broke in good, and they did everything they're supposed to do, right? But with gloves, you get one
Yeah.
shot. You get one shot. Someone puts them on their
Right.
hands, and they make their entire assessment of your company based off of what they felt right there. And I know that,
Yep.
right? So that's why I needed to be upfront and honest with it. Like, hey, do this, and then it's gonna work out. And I'll be damned. Like 3 days later, all of our gloves were gone. And then it's just just being open, honest, building that trust. And that's been the number one thing Slickman's been, I'm gonna say, what has propelled us thus far was just one, already having a community of trust through learning and educating together, and then being open and
Yeah.
honest about what's going on with our products.
Yeah, man, and then that resonates with a large part of who we are as a welder community. You're
Mhm.
seeing somebody teaching on social media, they're doing what they're selling. I mean, they're using the products that they're selling to the people. You built that relationship through, again, like you said, educating people, showing them that you're cut from the same cloth. That automatically
Mhm.
earns their respect and loyalty. And then you tailor these gloves to the needs of a welder because you're one yourself. So and being
Exactly.
upfront and honest, man, that is huge in today's market, man. Because look, with influencers nowadays, they'll say they like anything for a little bit of coin. You know,
Mhm.
people see right through that stuff. And you knew you had the foresight to look at this and say, man, I know who I'm dealing with. They'll sniff me out right away if I'm not open and honest with them. And that's what we need more of, man.
Super people could see fake a mile away, and I know
Yep.
that, and honestly, people it's like, I like to share wins, but I also like to share my losses because that's where people can relate, right? We've all lost, we've
Yeah, man.
all failed, we've all gone low, and, like, for instance, right now, like, we're having an issue with our hoodies. We had some manufacturing defects on them, enough to where I'm like, "Alright, this sucks." This was like, $60,000 worth of hoodies that are bad. I'm gonna just say, no, they're not
Man.
bad hoodies, but they're not the standard I wanna sell them at for what we're selling them at. So, it's like the same deal, like,
Okay.
"Hey, we need to be upfront and honest. This is what it is. This is what you're getting," and just be honest with it. Be honest completely.
Yeah.
They're not gonna pay the retail price on them. Like, they're gonna get a really good deal on these things, and versus just trying to because I felt like there was 2 ways to go about it, right? I just keep selling them, $100 a pop, and then the people that, come up and say, "Hey, this is wrong," then replace that, which to me, it feels kinda dirty that way when I know I have, like, a dirty batch. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. When you're
So
kind of, yeah, you're playing the odds game. Like, how many people are actually
it's
complain about this thing? And is it worth taking my chances? Should I just
it's
send it
not.
out and play
Yeah,
the odds? Yeah, it's not, man. If you got integrity like
no,
you do, man, I think that comes across the board, Nate, in tradesmen. I mean, that's something that we've taught ourselves to be. We tackle our trades with integrity. We hone a craft, and we have that appreciation for quality, and
mhm,
especially in a skilled trade like you've been a part of for, a decade prior to Slickman. And I guess that
absolutely.
would play a big part into who you are as a business owner.
And that's like the same thing when I was welding every day. People could sniff you out if you were a good welder or a bad welder, and like I don't know, the way you unroll your truck, the way you're getting set up to do a specific task or a job. If I could tell working with a new welder or an older welder, oh, this guy knows what's going on. This guy doesn't know his head from his
Yep.
ass. Like you could sniff it out
Yep.
right then and there. And I want to keep that same energy with my company. When someone gets our products, well, this guy knows what's going on. Oh, this dude's just selling his junk. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yep.
not. I want to make sure I'm portraying that same, I'm turning on that same flashlight. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, man. I absolutely do. Nate, we're gonna get into a little bit more of Slickman as we go. Obviously, that's what we want to highlight. But I want to talk to you a little bit about your decade in the West Texas oil fields, man. Where did you
For
get your
sure.
start and how?
So I started at Monahan's Nipple Up when I was a junior in high school. I was a junior in high school. I was looking for something to do. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. It's like a summer job. And my one of my aunt Kathy, she had a boyfriend that was working in a fab shop. He was like a I guess the shop manager. And he said, "Hey, you want to work?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to work. I love making money. I've been hustling since I was like 11, selling newspapers, cutting grass. Like we would like all my
So you
school
had a
trips."
legit paper route.
Oh, yeah. I had the
Okay.
newspapers. I had clients that I would go cut their grass and stuff for because at the end of the day, mom's wasn't gonna pay for my clothes. She wasn't gonna pay for my school, like, my trips or whatever I was doing, and I did not like having book fare money. You know what I mean? Like, that was a big deal to me. So I learned really early if I wanted something, I had to go get it because it wasn't gonna be given to me. So the same thing, I think homeboy saw that and he was like, "Hey, Nate, why don't you come to work?" And and so I did, and he started me off just cutting parts on a bandsaw. That's all I did is I'd run through square tubing or square stock or something, and I was just operating this bandsaw like it was, cutting everything perfect, making sure the blade's the right speed. I mean, it's one of them old school bandsaws from the 70s, you kind of just set it and it just goes real slow down. And then
Every now and then you got to lean on it a little bit to get it go all the way through.
yeah, you know what I mean. And there they were like, "All right, why don't you try welding on this trailer?" And it was just we were building like they call them test trucks or they're to test like the BOPs when they go to set them up on the well stacks, and that's the trucks we were
Okay.
building. And so nothing was like crazy pressure as far as like on a truck bed. It's just a truck bed, and
Sure. No.
every now and then they would let us go and They let me go weld. Like my first thing I ever, oh, this is my first experience welding ever. I had a MIG gun. They gave me a MIG gun and put me under a trailer. And they look, this is all you got to do. And he showed me
Nice.
two times, two like little 4-inch welds. He showed me how to do it, and I was like, sick. I didn't know how to hold my body under that thing. I'm like, if I'm, this is how I'm doing it. I'm right over me, and my legs are in front of me, and I'm just letting it all fall in the
Yep.
middle of my stomach and into my pants. And I'm doing it, and like I run like a 3-inch weld, and like this ball of slag just dropped right and burned right in between the thick part of your pants, you know, where your zipper's at, and fell all the
Yeah.
way through. And I was like, welding sucks.
That could have ended up a lot worse. Man, it got you?
It got me.
No, it
It got
missed.
me.
It got
No,
you. Damn, dude.
it
There is
got me.
nothing worse once
Yeah,
in my life, brother.
that's my first experience with welding.
All right, man. I got a follow-up question.
Oh,
What the hell made you want to go back after that?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. So I ended up, I got up, I shook it off. I was like, all right, I gotta hold my body better. Like no one was showing me this stuff. And then I ended up finishing it, and that was cool. Then I went back to cutting parts. Uh, And then I quickly found out MIG welding wasn't my thing. Like there were some really good MIG welders there, but they were like, "All right, you tried MIG. Why don't you try stick welding?" And I had like a natural knack for it, man. Like I saw it and I was like, "Whoa, okay, let me do that again. Let me do that again." And then there was like other guys in there that were pretty good at what they were doing, and so I'd
Yeah,
go watch them. I'd be like, "Okay, I'm just gonna watch." Like I'd set my machine and then I'd haul ass to where they were welding at, so I could like watch them just put plate together, like just make V groove welds on plate. And
yeah.
it just kind of went from one thing to another. I found out that I really liked it. Like I liked the craftsmanship in it, the skill
Mhm.
in it. I like instantly you could tell that you can't BS it. It has to be,
No.
it's you get sniffed out, and that's what I loved about it. I was like, you know, you can't hide if you're a good or a bad welder. You're gonna find out real quick. And
Yeah,
so I was like, you know what? This is
and they're
something I
not
want
shy
to
about it.
pursue. Yeah, they're not. They're fucking
Yeah,
douchers.
they're not shy about it, man. They're gonna let you know.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
loved it, man. I was in high school, you know, I was making a little bit of money. I think on 2 weeks I was pulling $600, and
there you
I
go.
thought,
That's
man,
better than
this is,
Wendy's.
yeah, this is really cool, and I loved it. And that ended up going to one of my best friends. His dad works for an oil company. It's called Graco, and he was telling me, he's like, dude, if you want to learn how to weld, you got to learn from this guy over here. And so that was another whole crazy thing. So I was like, all right, so let me jump ship. I jump ship. I go to this other oil field shop, and I'm like, I'm gonna go be a welder's helper over here for this man. And then I go, and he's like, I don't want to work around you. And he's like, you can work in the,
What?
yeah, he was like, you can work in the, like in the oil field side of the shop for right now. And I was like, well, he's like, when I need you, I'll call you. And I was like, oh, that sucks. So now I'm over there just like painting tools, working wrenches, swinging hammers, doing all this stuff. And I work around him just in the area for like 6 months. It took 6 months to have the opportunity to work with this gentleman. And at that 6 month point, someone broke a trailer. They broke a hitch off a trailer. And I was like, they said, take it to the welding shop. And I was like, sweet. So like I picked it up and I took it over there. And he was like, I guess he's, I don't know what happened that day, if he saw like how attentive I was being and how he's gonna fix it or what the steps were. But he was like, all right, Nate, you can come on. And then that
You
dude
know
gave
what,
me
man?
the,
That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
he gave me the whole baseline. I worked with him for 3 years, and my whole career grew off of what I learned in that shop from that dude.
That
Like,
is
the
awesome, man. How much older was he than you?
he had to been 35 at the time, and I was 19, 18 or
Yeah.
19.
So he was waiting you out, man. He was
Yeah,
waiting to see what kind of a person he was. He was waiting to see if you got that teenage kid that was going to punk out after 6 months, or if you were that kid that wasn't going to show up 3 days out of the week, or show up a half hour late every single time. That was an
hmm
experienced craftsman himself who wanted to make sure that he was passing on his knowledge to somebody that deserved it. And my son and I,
exactly.
real quick, Nate, just had this conversation last night when he was. My son's an aircraft or an aerospace TIG welder at a local company here where I live in Ohio. And he was talking about gatekeeping, older people gatekeeping the secrets of the trade and everything else. And I told him, I said,
hmm
there's a fine line between gatekeeping and passing your knowledge on to just anybody that walks through the door and is going to be gone 3 months later. You know,
Yeah,
when you've sweat and you've bled for what you've learned, you want to make sure that you're passing that on to somebody who actually gives a damn about what you have to say. You know, so and I'm sure that's the situation you were in, Nate.
absolutely, and, like, that's a cool, I never saw it that way. I didn't see it as them waiting me out. I thought it was just, that's a cool light you shed on that,
Yeah,
because that makes a lot of sense
yeah,
because I later on in my career, I got to the point where I was like, "Why am I gonna show, you know, this helper anything when I could tell he doesn't have it?" You know what I mean?
yeah, man.
And then
Yep.
it was cool
Yeah,
at
and
the
we
end.
do that naturally. We don't even think about it.
Right, right, and,
Yeah.
it was I was kinda like, I don't know if I was heartbroken or just, like, something, but at the end, when it got time for me to leave Graco, I outgrew Graco and everything they offered, like,
Okay.
for me, welding-wise. Um, and when I left Raymond, to go single hand weld, so I was gonna go run a truck, so I went from a shop welder to, like, a one step closer to a rig welder. Uh, he was like, "Nate, you're the last one." He said, "You're the last one." He's like, "You're ready. I'm not training anyone else how to do this." And I was like, "Well, I appreciate that." And I'll be damned. After I left, he worked like he was a foreman in the welding shop for maybe another 6 or 7 months, and then he never welded again. He went and did oil field consulting, and I was like, "Damn, that's crazy." I really was the last person who showed how to do all this and to do it right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I just
Yep.
did a little video yesterday talking about he's if I had any advice for an 18-year-old. The one thing Raymond, his name was Raymond Valdez. The one thing he always told me was don't let it win. Whenever we like his whole like teaching process and the way I would like figure stuff out, he would see me there just like, zeroing in on something. He'd just be like, "Hey, don't let it win. You gonna let it beat you? You gonna let that beat you, Nate?" It's like, "Don't let it win." And then he just walk off. I'm like, but that was the whole thing, like, the getting in the right mind to, like, "Nah, I'm gonna figure this out, and we're gonna do it." And, like, I just establishing that mentality early in my, like, adult manhood, you know what I mean? Like, it set me up for the rest of my life because now I approach everything with that, is, like, when I have an obstacle or a problem or I'm met with adversity, don't let it win, and what a great I'm so thankful for that.
Man, I got goosebumps, dude, if I could get these sleeves up enough, but this shirt's a little too damn tight. But if I could get
Mhm.
these sleeves up, man, I got goosebumps for that story because, I'm as you're talking about that, I'm looking back at this and thinking, this guy didn't just prepare you, for a trade that he was teaching you, man. He
No.
prepared you for the adversity that you're dealing with in Slickman. Nobody could deal with a $60,000 batch of hoodies, and not let it define who they are as a company and continue to move forward. If they didn't have that structure prior to that, man, that guy
Mhm.
did you a solid, bud. And that was an incredible way of teaching. That was incredible.
It is, it's
Prepared you for
crazy because
everything, man.
cause I grew up without a father, so, like, I was always trying to find that, like, that father-like person,
Yep.
whether it be a teacher or a coach and it ended up being, like, at that point in time of my life was Raymond, and, like, that was cool. It was super cool, and I'm super thankful for it.
That's awesome, man. So you moved on from there. Where'd you go after that?
Yeah, so the job is a single hand welding job. So what it is running another a truck for another company and doing like mobile work with
Okay.
it. I went to
Gotcha.
Wayne's Welding. When I got hired out, it was just to work on their equipment. They had a oil field service company that had welders, truck, dirt work, rustabouts, the whole lot. And when they hired me out, it was just to kind of work on their stuff. This is like, man, I thought I was the bee's knees of welding whenever I left Graco. I thought, man, I am a fucking dude. And then I met people over there that was like, boy, sit down. I met two brothers and they are still fantastic. I mean, talking about top of the line, West Texas talent was sitting right there in Wayne Johnson's yard. Wayne was already like a West Texas legend himself. He's been doing it for like, 40 years out there. But when I got there, I was like, oh man, there's a whole nother level to this. And it was cool because then I got to start another learning experience. I'd like consider it, graduating like from high school level welding to well, I know when I left grade school I was way past high school level welding, but I'm gonna say like to grad school almost. You know what I mean? Where I
Yeah.
got the chance to learn from those people, and I worked there for 3 years. It was another 3 year spurt, and I went from working on their equipment to testing out on gas companies to doing work in the field, gaining clientele, working. So that I learned a lot about the business end of how to handle customer relationships, doing just a good job, letting your work
Yeah.
speak for itself, and then these customers call you back. Because ultimately, the way it ended up working was customers would call me; they wouldn't call Wayne to go do a job, and then I'd go out and just do the ticket and do everything through Wayne like that. And that gave me like the business know-how to later when I eventually started my own welding company, like after I was done pipelining, to have my welding business because I already kind of had the idea of how it all ran.
Okay, so you left there and you sat out on your own.
Yeah, so when I left Wayne's, it was funny because like at the time I had my papers for maybe like 6 or 7 months. I was welding pipe, and this pipeline company come through, and they were like, "Hey, you want to come pipeline? Like you already have the papers." At the time, Anadarko papers were impossible. If they're testing 40 welders, one or two got a set of papers, and I had
Really?
that. Yeah, I had that. So the those papers were worth their weight in gold.
Hell
And
yeah.
they offered, I mean, at the time, I think I'm making, I don't know, 18, $19 an hour single hand welding. And then they offer me this $75 an hour job, like just running I already had my own
Jeez.
truck put together. So I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna go do this. Like it's just welding eight
Hell
inch
yeah.
stamp, right? So I get up, I'm getting my machine already. I'm like, oh, Wayne, it's time. And he was like, all right, good luck. See you later. And I was like, all right. So I went and I made 2 welds on that job before they run me off. I made 2 welds
On the
on the
first job on
first
your own.
yes, on
Man, come on. 2
the
welds?
first 2 welds as a pipeline. I never pipelined before. I didn't know what to expect. I was nervous.
Okay.
There was these badass
Yeah.
welders in front of me. You could tell they were already pipeliners, and oh, but I had no business being there. I went over there and I made 1 weld. I'm jumping over the pipe. Don't got a helper or nothing. Go to the second weld. I see the inspector come up and look at it, and he lets me finish the second one. He's like, yeah, go home and get some practice, buddy. Like, we can't use you out here. And I was like, all right. Then I rolled in my truck and did the
Damn.
drive of shame. I was like, just drove out there. I was like, that sucks. And then I was like, all right, well, I need a job. So I went and hollered back at Wayne, and he was like, yeah, you come on back. Pitiful. Pitiful.
No, it's not, man. No, no, it's the same thing, though. It led to the same don't let it beat you, and you didn't,
Mm-mm.
obviously.
No,
So
I went in
did
there.
you do more work on your own after that?
So yeah, I worked for Wayne for a little while, and then I just got better, right? I just went back and got better, try to
Mhm.
figure out what was going on, and I eventually figured it out. And then it got to where when was that big oil bust in 17 where like oil went to like negative 40? It's like around like that part, and Wayne's work kind of like dried out. So I found a job in a fabrication shop. I wasn't on my own yet. I was on my own as a rig welder, but like I was still working for companies. That makes sense. Like it was like a
Got you. Yep.
1099. You got your own equipment. Come over here and weld for us. And it was a fabrication shop in Odessa. We're building pig launchers for pipelines, and so that's pretty much where I like honed in on my pipe fabrication. I did a lot of pipe fabrication at Wayne's, but like zeroing in on pipe fabrication and getting good at it was in Odessa. And
Okay.
then just same thing, I did all my pipe fabrication there. I went from that to building batteries to pipelining, and then at the end of my pipelining deal is when I started my high voltage welding and fabrication. And that was my weld company. Yeah.
Okay, so the name of your company was High Voltage Welding and Fabrication.
Yes. Yeah, it was cool. It looked like AC/DC high voltage, except it had a welding in the middle of it.
I'm picturing it right now, man. That sounds cool. Hell yeah, you ought to. Hey, Slickman needs to probably release a retro.
For reals, that's
Probably
what it
need to
was.
seriously, man. I'm serious. I would be down for one of those retro shirts, man.
Uh, the first
Absolutely.
the first welding gloves that I had sent to me from the manufacturers were high voltage welding and fabrication welding gloves. Like,
Because that's all the
it
logo
was
you had at the
cool.
time, wasn't it?
That's all the logo I had. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So at that point, High Voltage Welding and Fabrication, what were you doing at that? What were you doing with that company and how long did you run it?
so what had happened was I was working for a company out in Big Spring, and welders are some jealous people. They're ugly. I mean, some of them are, some of them aren't, but rig welders in particular,
Dude,
they can get real. I'm gonna say, I don't want to say feminine, But, like, "Bro, we're here to do a
They
job.
get
Come
sensitive, man.
here."
Let's leave it there.
Yeah,
Sensitive.
yeah, they get sensitive. Like, feminist probably not a
Yeah.
good word to describe it, but, I'm just anyway, so they send me out to do a job for a certain customer. I go over there. They know I have so the guys that are running it, that run the company, they had no qualms with me whatsoever. It was the other welders that did, right? So, but they knew that I was the
Sure.
next competent welder. If I'm gonna go out, if they were gonna send anybody out, they had worked for two gas companies. If they're gonna send anybody out to gain and win work, it was gonna be me. And so that's who they sent. They sent me over there to go gain and win this work, and that's what I did. Well, while I was going back and forth working intermediate in between the gas company we're working for and the one I just established, uh, is when stuff went down. Like the welders over here were like, "Nah, nah, we don't need you around here." And I don't know what that was about. So, anyways, I ended up like not having a job. I was jobless, right? And the gas company that I went out and did that work for, that they sent me out to originally, was like, "Hey, Nate, we got the stuff over here. You want to come work?" I was like, "Buddy, I don't work for X welding company anymore." And they were like, "So? Like, start a company, come on." And I was like, "Right on, let's do this." Well, I already had my LLC established a little earlier on just to do my invoicing and stuff for them. Like, 'cause like I was a contract welder, so it's just easier to do it with an LLC. And I was like, all right, so I got the
Yeah.
insurance, I got everything, and then boom, I stayed pretty bowed up for like 2 years doing as high pressure piping systems. It's kind of a newer technology at the time. What they were doing was they're tying into pipelines, finding gas, that's natural gas coming off a pipeline in a little like refinery, like on the back of two 18-wheeler beds is what it looked like, and then
Oh,
powering
really?
that. Yeah, so they take the gas straight from the pipeline, refine it, and then they'd go power frack with it. So, like, say if a
Okay.
big gas company had a gas powered frack and there's a pipeline running right there, well, instead of trucking in all this diesel or CGF gas, they could just tap into their own infrastructure and power the frac with that pipeline.
Gotcha.
And so
Okay.
I just did all their pipe fabrication. Whatever they needed is what I was doing. And then that eventually led to me hiring welders. Then I also had customers from years past from when I worked at Wayne's. They're like, "Hey, Nate, can you come do it?" For a while, I couldn't do nothing for them. They called me for years after I was the pipe when I was pipelining, dude. I was like, I can't. Like when you're pipelining, you have to pipeline. You cannot do
Yep.
anything else. You were there. You belong to the company, and you cannot do work on the side or whatever. And so when I had my company, I was like, hey, I called everybody back up, and then boom, that started, other jobs kicking off outside of just that gas company. So we were able to stay. I got to hire welders. I got to do the whole. I mean, we did the whole business thing.
That's awesome,
Um,
dude.
it's super cool.
How
It
old were you
was
when you
like
did that?
26.
Yeah.
I was 20.
So I was the same age. Yeah, I was the same age. So I took a different route. I started a miscellaneous steel erecting company. So I would build, multi-story steel stairs. I did glass railing, stainless steel rail. I did glass railing all over the United States and malls, Seattle, Texas, all over the
Mhm.
place, man, and universities and stadiums. And at a young age, man, to be able to do stuff like that, isn't that there's no other feeling like it, is there?
To me, so when I first saw the first rig welder I ever saw, I was working with Raymond at the time, and his brother was also a rig welder. His name was Richard. And when I saw him pull up on a Tuesday afternoon in this brand new 2000, that'd have been
Mm,
2012 LTZ rigged out truck, and just jumped out with them starch pants, cowboy hat, and I was like, that's what I want to do. And then Raymond was like, "You know how much money that man makes right there?" He's like, "That man makes $85 an hour, and look where he is right now." I'm
mm.
like, it kind of showed a light on a sense of freedom to me,
Hell yeah, it does.
and that's what I wanted. I wanted that freedom. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like ultimately I like to be the controller of my own destiny. And that was the whole push for me. That's why I started that's why I entertained the idea of having a company, a welding company. Like I know I still have bosses technically that are my customer, but if I don't want to go today, I don't got to. If I want to hire someone to go do something, well, then let's do that. You know what I mean? Like it's just having that sense of freedom to me. And that's what to me rig welding was. Rig welding was freedom. And I guess that's kind of like another thing is I just didn't ever like having a boss, right? I don't think anyone likes having a
Same
boss.
way. Same way,
Mhm.
man. The exact same way. And that's where, I told people, and I tell young people all the time, I'm like, I was in that position. I was actually at the time I had done a lot of fabrication, custom fab stuff before, but at the time I was an aerospace TIG welder for GE.
Mhm.
And I was a young guy, I was a young kid full of, I want to go out and kick ass. I'm going to try to run everything I do as fast as I possibly can, as good as I
Right.
can. And they hit me with the you don't move up in this place unless you have 2 years associate's degree in whatever, mechanical engineering, industrial engineering, whatever that may be, or 7 years on the job experience. And I'm like, yeah, I'm saying no to both of those.
Right.
Well, I left aerospace and became a steel erector. But,
There's no
it's that
gap.
drive. It is, man. It's that mindset of, I don't want you to tell me how much money I can make. I don't give a damn about the ceiling in your company.
Mhm.
I don't adhere to that. You know what I mean? I'm going to make what I want to make. And this is a stepping stone to get there.
Exactly. Exactly. Uh, it's kinda just opening your mind to the capabilities of everything that's out there, right? Like, you can't put yourself in a
Yep.
box. You cannot put your I
Yeah.
even think of that right now, like, with Slickman is, like, I can't put my I'm not putting myself in a box. The top is wide open. We're gonna go wherever we wanna go with this thing, and then just make it happen. You know what I mean? Just make it happen, you know? That's so cool.
What I love about it. So, was it the success in business that propelled you to, or kind of launched you into the welding apparel business? What was that?
So
Was it the welding company success that did that?
what allowed Slickman to grow, because I ran Slickman and high voltage simultaneously for a year. High
Okay.
voltage was doing good. I'd say we were like maybe a 500,000, $600,000 a year company just for the little jobs I was doing and hiring out and all that. So I was able to live off of the wages I was making at high voltage. Slickman, I started Slickman with $2,000. I said, "This is a side deal. I'm not gonna put no more money into it. It's gonna be 2 grand. That sink or float. This is what's gonna happen." And so I was able to run Slickman and high voltage at the same time, and I'm living off a high voltage, and Slickman's able to compound on itself over the course of a year. When Slickman hit its first, like, whoo, 20,000 or $30,000 month, something like that. It made sense to me. I was like, "Oh, man." Like, I'm over here at the time I was doing stainless steel jobs, doing prefab for a pipeline company, and it was cool because I mean, it's $200 an hour. I was doing good, but I had to do a lot of work. Like, I'm out there
Right.
hand cutting stainless steel pipe by hand beveling it all, then hiring welders to come weld it, and, like, what changed my mind, what opened it to me is I had a $40,000 invoice come through, and I paid out 32,000 from it to get the job done. You know what I mean? So I'm like, "Oh,
Mm.
man."
Yep. Yep.
And then Slickman made 20 grand, and I was like, "I need to focus on one of these. I
That's a
can't."
no-brainer.
Yeah, it was a no-brainer. I was like, "This is let me just go ahead and hop over here," because ultimately if my attention's divided, then neither one of them is gonna get the right care that it needs, right? And it's like the same thing, man. It was like when I went from single hand welder to rig welder, that was a jump, right? When I went from rig welder to
Yeah.
business owner, that was a jump. I didn't know where Slickman was gonna go, but I was like, "You know what? If I'm gonna do it, I need to jump into it and actually give it a good, fair shake."
So, like a year in, you hit that $20,000 month. That was enough to convince you that you needed to focus on Slickman.
Yeah.
But, and you said that you had made those jumps prior, and I get that. And I
Mhm.
know that you had been doing this a year, but man, look, you knew that the industry you're leaving is tried and true. That's there for a while. That's going to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess that's a double-edged sword, like to where it plays to your advantage. If you fail, you go right back to making great money again in the field. No big deal.
Mhm.
But the other thing is you're leaving what you've known your entire life, what all, obviously has become your passion over time.
Oh, I
And
love
you're
it.
leaving that for something like gloves, dude. I can't put that together. I don't My mind doesn't work like that at how you make that leap, because
Yeah.
that leap is not like the other ones that you made, man. That's a whole different ones. Are you a married man, Nate?
Yes, sir, I am.
How
I
did
sure
that
am.
go? How did that go? What was that transition? What was that like between you and the missus?
I think she saw the vision the whole time. It was crazy because at first when we started Slickman, she didn't even wanna leave her job. I was like, "Look, if we can just have you at the house every day doing this while I'm out welding, it's
Mm,
gonna work so much better." And I think Slickman was at it for about 8 months before she decided to quit her job, and see, I mean, it was to me, learning how to be in that side of a business, or that kind of business, or going from fabrication to retail, those are 2 big different deals. So, the entire time
Huge. Yeah.
when I'm running high voltage, I don't wanna sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but I'm so good at welding, I could do it and do the numbers and do everything, and it's kinda like, is it stressful sometimes? Yes, but I'm able to do it somewhat easy. Now, while that's going on, that whole first year, I'm also learning how to be a salesman. I'm also learning how to
Right.
build a website. I'm learning how to market. I'm learning, I tell everybody I felt like I had to learn how to weld again. That's how like the
Yeah.
learning curve was. It was steep for me, and I had to learn a whole nother side of a business. Like, I can't tell you how many times I stood in front of my computer and was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, there was one time we launched a pair of gloves, like, halfway in, maybe about 4 or 5 months in, we launched a restock, and, like, 2 sizes were marked off at 0, like, so people can go and buy them for free, and I was like, "What am I
No.
doing?" And I honored it. I sent
Oh,
them, I was like, "You
man.
know what?" They caught me off guard. It was, like, within the first 5 minutes of the drop, I saw, like, the orders coming in, I was like, $2? Let me go check on that. And I was like, it was just the shipping cost. I was like, oh no.
Shoot. How many
And
pairs?
he bought 3 pairs. He got 3 pairs, or
Okay.
he checked out 3 pairs. And I was like, well, at least he didn't go crazy with it, right? I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and send that
Right.
to him. I had it fixed in like 10 minutes or whatever, but it's the same thing. I was looking at my computer like I was looking like at a weld I couldn't make. I was like, what is going on? Like, how do I like computer drivers or printer drivers or the thermal printers messing up? Like, I mean, I felt like I just hit multiple walls, like trying to figure out how to work this thing. And at the same time, like when this is going on, my wife she's working her own job, right? And she'll look at me and she sees I'm stressed out and she'll be like, well, you wanted this. Like, you got to figure it out. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're right. I wanted it. I'm gonna figure it. Even to this day, like if I'm tripping over something, if something's going on, she'd be like, "Hey, you wanted to be the businessman. Be the businessman now." And I'm like, "You're right." And no one was gonna do it for me, right? So the whole time I'm doing high voltage, I'm running Slickman at the same time and trying to figure out all the little intermittent things, and then I guess you know where it clicked to me, that having a product made sense was we went on a I went fishing with my kids during spring break, and I just left my website on, right? And while I was fishing, people were buying gloves, and I was like, that's insane. That was insane to me, right? Like, I was able to fish, enjoy time with my family, and the business was still, gaining revenue while I'm fishing. I was like, that's so you asked where the switch was, where it switched in my head to leave an industry that I've been in for my whole
Yep.
life, that I am top. That's where the switch was for me. It was being able to spend time with my family and still be able to make
Man.
a living. Yeah.
That's awesome. At that point right there, you knew you were home. And
Yeah.
that's an incredible feeling, dude. That is an incredible feeling because that's as opposed to, and I'm sure you were the same way with as I was. There was many times, dude. I walked around Disney World or Disneyland, whatever the hell's in Florida. I can never keep track of the two. Whichever
Mhm.
one's in Florida. I walked around there when my kids were little, cell phone wedged between one ear, kids in each hand, quoting a job while I'm walking. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you've seen that side where you're sacrificing that time with those kids and they're not slowing down, man. They're getting older and you're watching this happen. And when you hit
Yep.
that man, that just epiphany that happens and you're like, what? I can make money and spend time with these kids and I've been sacrificing this time this whole time. Man, good for
This
you.
whole Yeah, my oldest boy was like 6, or he was like 7 at the time, and like 6, and we didn't Slickman for 3 years, 2 years, 9. So he was 7 at the time where I got to come home and like actually be home every day to work on Slickman and just work at the house, right? And then I have 2 other little babies. At the time, one was 2 and the other one was 1. And I realized how much I missed of my first child because I
Yeah.
was out working every single day. And we don't think about it, just because 'cause I'm
Mm.
home every day doesn't mean I'm seeing my kids every day, right? Uh,
Yep.
just because I come home every day, I eat, sleep, work, invoice, go to bed. Like, I
Yep.
wasn't able to give my kids the proper, like attention. I wasn't able to give them that right amount of attention. And like when I saw that, I was kind of sad because I missed my first kid's little, like his
Yeah.
1 to 7, and, I was yeah, that's where it clicked to me. I was like, I get to do stuff with my kids now, and that's huge for me. Especially, like, growing up without a father, there's, like I want to be a father so much more, you know what I mean? So,
Yep.
it
Absolutely.
yeah.
And Slickman gave you the opportunity to do that, man, or to find that again. You hit on something that I want to talk about real quick because a lot of people don't understand this. Being a business owner, you can be at home, but you might not be there. I have numbers running through my head all the time. I had problems that I left at 6 o'clock that night that I knew I was going to tackle first thing in the morning, the following morning, that I'm thinking about the entire time while my wife's cooking dinner. Kids are running around playing. I'm thinking about that next job that just came across the quote table. I'm looking at and it never stops. And that's if you could squeeze out 4 to 5 hours of sleep in a night. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
To be able to come home and actually sit there and be present with your kids and enjoy that time without all that stuff going on. And I know you still
Mhm.
have that, man. Slickman's not a stress-free company. It can't be.
It's
It's
not.
doing too well.
It's
No, I
absolutely not a
guarantee you.
stress-free company. I'm telling you, I'm stressing out right
Nope.
now over all these damn jackets. But
I'll bet.
it's a smooth sea doesn't make a skilled sailor, right? So
That's exactly
just
right, Nate.
continue to navigate it, continue to I'm able to so the whole time I'm building Slickman, but I feel like I'm also building myself as a person. So I'm taking the time, I'm reading the self-help books. I'm like, what do I need to be as a person to achieve the goals I need to achieve? And ultimately, a lot of these real successful entrepreneurs, they follow the same habits, the same daily affirmations or the way I talk, it's learning how to be I forget the name of the gentleman that said it, but he was like, "What will it take of you to become a millionaire? What kind of person do you need to be a millionaire?" Like, you have to have millionaire habits. You have to be that kind of person. You don't just get there, right? There's a
No.
there's a whole curve of personal growth that you have to go through and achieve and see yourself, right? See yourself for who you are and then make the changes. So it's I don't know where I was going with that, but
Talking to people like you, Nate, it really gets me excited because I know where you're headed, man. And there's nothing but good things coming your way because these habits that you've developed, this reflection that you've put into the self growth is phenomenal and it's going to pay off in dividends. And it's just like everything that you went through in your previous career, man. These stepping stones,
Mhm.
these building opportunities, where you're at now, look at where you were when you first started your welding adventure. Look at how much better you're gonna be at this in the next 3 years, man.
Oh man, I'm excited for it. I'm so excited for it. I don't I am I'm saying it, we're gonna take over. We're gonna be in every single weld and supply store in the United States. We're coming and we're coming hot.
That's
I'm just
awesome,
putting it
dude.
out there. Putting it out there. I'm excited for it.
What does that mean for Slickman? What's in the future? Do you have anything new coming up that you're working on? Something you wanna kinda soft launch out there, something that's in development, something you wanna highlight to give the listeners to look out for? Anything like that?
I do, and I'm not sure if I want to say what it is yet.
Okay.
I have the prototype. I'm
Something
coming
exciting then.
into it's super exciting. This is something that and it's
Okay.
also super I'm gonna say it's super niche. It's really for that welder that it's kind of catering to the industry that I come from. And
Okay.
oh man, it's gonna be exciting. I'm super excited for it. There hasn't been a new one of these in a
Can't
long
wait.
time. It's gonna be outside of apparel. It's not gonna be a glove. It's not gonna be a shirt, a jacket. No, this is gonna be something that is every welder in the nation is gonna want one. I mean, every good welder. I'm gonna say it like that. Every welder that knows what's going on is gonna want one of these bad boys. And I honestly think it has the potential to double, if not triple, what Slickman's already doing. Just stepping outside of the apparel
Man.
industry.
Okay, so when can we expect to see some of this?
That depends. When are you gonna launch this episode?
No.
We're in
Well, I'll launch this probably in the next week or 2.
okay, so then
Probably
it's
next
gonna
week.
be like probably in the next 6 months. Within the next 6 months, I plan
Okay.
on bringing the first rendition 1.0 to the market of what it's gonna be. So pretty soon, relatively soon.
Very cool. So at
Yeah,
home, tell me a little bit about your home life, man. You're married, you got kids. I heard a little bit about that. How long you been married?
I've been married for 5 years. I've been with the same woman since 2015. So we've been together almost 11
Good for
years.
you.
We have 3 kids. In fact, all the numbers on my gloves are named after my kids or my wife or somebody in my family. Like the 716, that was our first glove. That's my first child's birthday was July of
Oh, come
16.
on, man. That is awesome right there.
That is pretty cool. And the 820 is the same thing. That's my second boy. That's the second glove we came out with was our 820. So that's Nolan. He's my middle child. He's the 820. 1121s, those are our little driver gloves. That's for my little baby. He was born in November 21.
Mm.
906, that's my wife. And 26, that's me. 1006 is my father-in-law. 1975 is my mom. I try to keep it to where each something means something. You know what I mean? Like I'm not just pulling numbers out and making it happen.
No. Dude, that's awesome. I mean, when these people are wearing these gloves, those numbers are everything that you value in life, man. That to me is profound. I think that's cool as hell. That really is.
Thank you. Thank you. I was like, man, if we're
That's
gonna put something on here, it's gotta mean something.
yeah, that is awesome. And that just goes to show too, this guy's not gonna put his children's birthday on a pair of gloves that he doesn't believe in. I mean,
Mhm,
that's adding a whole nother level of accountability to your apparel, mate. It really is
mhm.
when you look at it in that light.
Oh man,
I mean,
it
that
was
quality better shine through.
it does, and, sometimes we got some product in and it did not shine through. I was like, "This" I remember it's the 820 in particular. That glove has given me so much hell over the course of these 3 years. We finally got her dialed in, but the first 2 years with it, I was changing things on the fly. I was like, "Alright, that didn't work. Let's do this. Alright, that didn't work. Let's do this." There was a point in time, I had a batch of gloves come in, it was about 5 grand. Which Slickman was still early, so 5 grand is a lot of money. It was a lot of money. And
Mm,
to have a $5,000 mess up, that sucks. And I'm looking at these gloves and like, you know what? Whoever orders a 716 is gonna get an 820 for free. So that's what it is. Like, you know what? This is what it is. These gloves suck. Uh, I don't want to sell them to you because I don't feel like they're the Slickman standard. Order something from me and I'm gonna send you a free pair of gloves. And we did. I think we sent out Whew, I don't know if it was like 1,500 pairs or something like that. It was a lot of gloves that people just got for
really?
free. Yeah, because who better to give back to than the people that are supporting me anyways, right? So, and I still do
Dude,
things like that. When we have
absolutely.
something that's like, it's been on my shelf too long, I'm like, hey, I'll eat it. I'm gonna just give it to my customers. Like if they buy this, give them this. And, it works out, you know. There's no
Yeah.
better people to give it to than the people already supporting me.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. So when you're at home, man, what's the what do you do when you're trying to take your mind off of business, trying to take your mind off of work? What are you doing to chill out? What do you like doing? What are your hobbies?
To be honest, right now, I don't have any hobbies. Beforehand, I was in I played my bass. I was in a band for a while, and I just do that. I'd
Okay.
play music. I'll go, like right now, if I get really frustrated and it takes me getting really frustrated before I go turn on my amp and play my bass, I'll go play like Pantera or something just
There
to
you go.
kind of like, just alleviate myself from just being stressed out, right? And then so I picked up
Yep.
sewing here recently. I'm gonna say in the past 3 months, I've been cutting and sewing gloves together because ultimately I want to start manufacturing Slickman in Texas. That's my goal. I want to have Slickmans. That's like the goal. And I found out that when I'm sewing, I really like it. It's like the sound of it, seeing the leather come together, it's
It's
still
kind of like
Slickman
laying down a weld.
related. Yeah, exactly, and, like, tuning my machine to where it's throwing the stitches just right,
Yep.
and I know it's still Slickman related. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, have the hardest time turning off Slickman. Yesterday was the first time I ever went and golfed in my life, and I was like, "This is crazy that I'm like, I can actually for a second not think about Slickman." You know what I mean? Or not think about
Mhm.
work. Pretty much what my home life is like is just running around chasing or I got a 4 and a 5-year-old now, is chasing them around, getting them ready for school. I'll go to the gym. I'm trying to take care of my physique and then go take care of Slickman. The whole time, like, orchestrating meetings, talking about marketing. My time's pretty much ate up with Slickman and kids. That's like, so I would love to have those hobbies back. Okay, when I was welding, my hobbies were bass and I played a game on my computer called War Thunder. That's what I like to do. I like to do that and I like to
Okay.
game. But eventually it got to where I felt like those things were taking away from what I needed to focus on. And that's at the level we were at, we couldn't afford to have any distractions. You cannot allow yourself to be distracted. And like beforehand, I'd go watch football, I'd drink beer with the boys, all the things. But then it got to where I was like, you know what? Football is a distraction. It's distracting me from what I need to do. I needed to be able to
Do
just
you regret that?
zero in. Do I regret it? No, not one bit. I remember
Okay,
telling
good,
him,
good.
man, I was telling my, because these are my same group of friends I've had since I was, in kindergarten. And I was like, guys, I'm trying to tell you right now, like, I probably sounded like a crazy man. I was like, they're stealing your time. These things are stealing your time. Your
Yeah,
time is
dude, they are.
valuable.
Yep.
Like, if you would just drop it for a year or two, you could enjoy football. I still enjoy watching football from time to time, and that's fine. But I'm not going to get caught up in who's doing what in football. I'm not gonna get caught up in like the whole thing. There's things in my life that I need to line out so that later I can
Yeah.
enjoy these things again. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's
we're not
the
focusing on stats anymore, we're focusing on sales dollars.
exactly like don't let these things steal time from you. You could be improving something. You could be getting better at your craft. I mean, there's so much self improvement that you actually need to do to accomplish great things. You can't just like turn it off. You have to be somewhat crazy. You have to be so devoted and you dive into this thing that it eats you to come out on
Yeah,
the other side. You know what I mean? Like you have to die before you can live. And if you can't
dude,
get
that's
rid
yeah,
of these things that are keeping you, that are weighing you down so that you can propel to the next level, then you'll never make it. You don't want to give up uh poker night every Thursday to focus on yourself. Well, then that's going to keep you. That's going to weigh you down. If it's not pushing you forward, then it's dragging you backwards. So I don't regret cutting out people. I don't regret cutting out sports, cutting out hobbies, because ultimately it allowed me to focus on building me. And that's what Slickman needed, that's what my family needed, that's what my wife needed. It kinda did it suck not having all those things? Yeah. So did I miss playing in a group? Yeah. Did I miss not being able to play games with the guys? Yeah. I mean, yeah, it sucks, but ultimately, I don't regret anything because now I get to experience a way of life that people don't get to just
that's right.
because I did the things, right? And I'm continuing to do the things because there's still levels to this, right? And
How old are you, Nate?
I'm 31.
You're 31. I am incredibly proud of you, dude. And I could tell just through this conversation what kind of a man you are, the focus that you put on your family, to your product. If you had one piece of advice for my students as it relates to their success in industry, what would that be, Nate?
I'm going back to what Raymond said. Don't let it win. Don't let it
Mm,
win. Adversity is going to find you. Problems are going to find you. Don't let it win. Don't succumb. Figure it out. You need to put that in your head that there is a way out. You can you're never stuck. You're never stuck. There's always, even if you fell, now you found one way not to do something. You know what I mean? Do not let it win. You win. This is your life. You win.
that's incredible. You guys heard it from the man himself, Nate Montez, the man behind Slickman Welding Apparel. Nate, thank you again so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. Man, I look forward to doing this again in the future. I want to catch up,
Absolutely.
especially in the next 6 months, bro.
Oh yeah, you're gonna like that one. You're gonna like it.
Awesome. Hey, man, I appreciate
Awesome.
your
Well,
time. Again, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again soon, Nate.
absolutely. Thanks for having me.